Guys, the Explorer 4 here, Horrorboy 465. Welcome back to some more reviews, and today we are getting to a very ironic review, really a very ironic series of reviews, because this is a series that, as you guys know, I had canceled a couple of weeks ago. I had said that I had canceled this franchise review, along with Final Destination and Jeepers Creepers and a couple other ones, but for some reason, I started watching these movies, and I kind of watched them in a weird order, because I had watched Saw 6, and basically it got me back in the mood to watch them, and I haven't really seen all the movies in order in about 5 years, about 4 to 5 years, 4 to 5 years, not 45, 4 to 5 years, I haven't really seen all the Saw movies in order. And even really this time I didn't watch them in order, but I did do a marathon nonetheless. And obviously today, starting off my reviews in the Saw franchise. This is a franchise that I had reviewed a couple times before, but those reviews are now gone. I have done a ranking video on the series. So if you guys want to check that out, you guys can, but I did a ranking video. And I figured now I'd start talking about the movies just, review to review, because I actually really enjoy these movies. And this review won't be posted until our internet gets fixed. Our internet is broken yet again, so this review is actually being filmed probably a couple days before it's actually uploaded. So, I'll probably be filming these reviews until we get our internet fixed, and then when we get our internet fixed, I'll just start uploading all of them. And what's cool about that is it actually gives me time to maybe go back and edit them. It won't be like, 5-star editing or anything like that, but like it'll give me a chance to go back and edit the videos. Maybe add the intros. I know I've been lacking on that. Maybe add some extra stuff to them. I don't know. But it does give me some extra time to do some editing. So that is pretty cool. And basically, I wanted to review this franchise because for the longest time, I had thought the franchise was just alright, that it was meh, that it was just a product of the torture porn age of horror. But honestly, watching these movies again, there's still some really good movies in this franchise. Heck, I consider the first 3 non-torture porn. Now, granted, they have really gory torture moments, but the first 3 movies actually have really strong stories to them. And it's not till about Saw 4 until they start focusing less on a good story and more on the traps. I feel the first 3 Saw movies, yeah, they're gory, they have traps, they have torture, but they also have story. And that's why I kind of count those out of the whole torture porn genre that was going on at the time. Like Hostel, these movies, you had a bunch of the Wrong Turn movies were starting to get really gory. You had a bunch of direct-to-DVD torture movies coming out, which I remember seeing a couple of them. One of them was called Beaver Falls or something like that, or something like this guy who, when these people they're getting ready to have a baby, and this guy who's sort of this deformed hunter kind of person, and his hillbilly family, they go after them and try to get the baby. So that was a pretty good movie. I can't remember what it was called, but I remember it being called Beaver Falls or something like that. I can't remember. But it was a movie I seen a long time ago. I remember thinking it was pretty decent, no lie. And I would say this series is definitely better than Hostel, because for me, Hostel 1 is probably the best one, and Hostel Part 2 sucked, and Hostel Part 3 is a pretty underrated movie, but it's just okay. But the Saw franchise, I think the strength about it is that it was able to, even though it did focus on the torture porn aspect after Part 3, it still had that sense of it being a giant story. A couple times the series got a little bit confusing, but for the most part, every movie tried to continue after where the last one left off, and I really enjoyed about the series. And today we're getting into the very first movie, Saw, which came out in 2004. I don't have IMDb pulled up right now, so I might edit in the rating on IMDb somewhere around here on the screen. But came out in 2004, and this movie is definitely my favorite one. I remember when I first seen this movie, it's a little bit ironic. I had seen this movie on Sci-Fi, and it was around probably 2008 or 9, so there was already a decent amount of them out. I think about 6 of them were out around 2009. And they had like a Saw marathon on Sci-Fi, and I was able to just, stay up real late one night, and I watched Saw 1 and Saw 2. And I remember thinking these were really good movies. As a kid, I think they were like really gory and stuff like that. And, definitely movies, some of like the first horror movies I discovered were, Saw, along with Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. But mainly the first Saw movie, which is the one that I remember catching on TV the most. Saw 2 I caught on TV like once, but Saw 1 I remember catching on Sci-Fi or a couple other channels quite a bit. So I was very familiar with the first Saw movie growing up. And the first Saw movie is a lot of people's favorite, and it's for a good reason. I mean, this is definitely the movie that has the strongest story behind it. I think it has the strongest characters behind it. It's definitely before they started focusing on just traps. And I like how in this movie you do have traps, you do have gore. It's definitely a bloody movie, especially this version that I got, the uncut version, which is a pretty awesome addition to have. What's really cool about it is you have that like saw blade in there, which is pretty neat. But also you get extra gore footage, you get extra extended scenes, you get a second disc, which the case I'm not a big fan of. It's like a plastic case that is very flimsy. There's a couple cracks in the case. You can pop this out. Kind of like a water inside of it. It's pretty cool. But what I don't like about this DVD is that it can break easily. And I know that together right now it looks like it's okay, but this top part right here is actually broken, so sometimes it'll fall apart when I'm like trying to take out the disc. But we have the first disc, which is the film, and we have the second disc, which is the features. And the features are decent. There could have been a little bit more to them, but they are decent for what they are. There's a picture of Amanda. So it's very well designed. I mean, design-wise, it looks great. But, like, freaking, like, DVD case-wise, the way they did this DVD case is kind of garbage because it falls apart a lot. But it is a pretty cool concept. It's definitely a different one. Just doesn't really work that great because the DVD always falls apart. But Saw 1, I mean, it's got the strongest story, it has the strongest acting, it has a great atmosphere. James Wan, this is his directorial debut. I think it's an awesome debut for the director. Big fan of James Wan. Conjuring 2 was great. Insidious is awesome. Dead Silence is a really good movie. Furious 7 was a very good movie. He's made a couple of them that I don't care for. I remember seeing Insidious Chapter 2 and thinking that it was just meh. Not a fan of The Conjuring 1. Just the hype killed it for me. I think that's about it for James Wan's for as far as him directing movies goes. Most of his movies that he's directed are really good though, like Dead Silence, Saw, The Conjuring 2, Fury 7. Those are all movies that I really, really enjoy. And I think that James Wan really brings a great vision to this movie. And you gotta think, around 2004, there were not movies like this. There were not movies that were willing to go this far, even filmmaking wise. I mean, this movie was literally shot, I think, on a couple of million, like a couple, maybe $2 million, maybe $3 million was given to this movie. I'm not really too sure, but it was not a lot of money. It was like $6 million, $8 million, something like that. It's very, very, very low budget for this movie. And the movie was shot in one location. It's just this giant warehouse that they had, this giant studio that basically was run down, and it was exactly what they needed to shoot the scenes for this movie. So when I seen the movie, it's just pretty cool thinking that this whole movie, every scene that you see in this movie, every scene that's shot is in the same building. And they do a very good job of making every scene look different so that you could not tell that. So the usage of the low budget was very well done. I think that this movie and Halloween, and Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, Friday the 13th Part 1 even, or most of them are low budget. But even the Friday the 13th movies, I think I said Evil Dead, but all those movies really show me that you don't need a giant budget to make a really good horror film. And Saw is definitely a good example of that, because James Wan just figures out how to get these ingenious shots, these crazy sped up shots that I think work the best in this movie. Now, they used them in later movies, but they're not done as well. I think just the way that James Wan directed it was it was fluent. Yeah, it was shaky cam, and yeah, it was like schizophrenic kind of, weird sped up editing, but I thought it worked so well in this movie. And then I would say it worked better, or not better, but good as well as in Saw 2 and Saw 3. And then around Saw 4 is when we start getting it starts getting a little bit too ridiculous. But, it definitely works the best in this movie. I think that the acting and this is something that I've heard about, the acting from Carrie Ells and Leigh Whannell, basically the two leads that are trapped in this bathroom. I've heard from a lot of people that they didn't do a good job. I honestly thought they did a great job. I think that everybody in this movie nailed their performance. I mean, Danny Glover, you had Shawnee Smith, you had Carrie Ells and Leigh Whannell. I mean, you had all these great actors and great characters. Dr. Gordon, Adam, Detective Tapp, Detective Singh, Jigsaw, Amanda. I mean, you can remember all these characters off the top of your head. And a lot of the sequels, you can't do that with. It's like, oh, who's that? Who's that guy? Who's that person in that trap? You just, you don't know. And even though the traps obviously are not as like gory and blood-filled as the sequels are, they're still very memorable. I mean, you have the barbed wire trap, the glass room trap, which is where there's glass on the floor and this guy has a flammable substance smeared all over his body, and he catches on fire. You have the main trap of the movie, which is the bathroom trap. You have the drill trap, which is pretty cool, where there's two drills and they're going towards the guy's head. The reverse bear trap. How could I forget that? The reverse bear trap is such a classic Saw trap. Definitely one of my favorite ones. And what's funny about a lot of these traps is that a lot of them are off screen. A lot of them you don't see. Most of them you just see through flashbacks. And some of them they even survive. Like the drill trap guy, he lives. Amanda, she survives. Gordon, Dr. Gordon, he survives the bathroom trap. So, I mean, you have that in this movie as well. And I just felt that in the sequels, they had to make everybody die because, like, oh, they want to see the traps. We got to let these people die so they can see the traps. Like, yeah, but when you do that, you build these characters up and then you just kill them off. It's like they could have lived, but you just have them make stupid decisions and die. So that get kind of annoying in later sequels, I felt. But in this movie, that was just done very well. How, you still had people who survived. You still had it where it was done in flashbacks. And I know people are like, come on, get into the story. The story of the first Saw movie is so classic. I mean, you have the beginning of the movie, these guys, Adam and Dr. Gordon, they wake up in this bathroom and they start finding clues as to why they're there. And you have things that they see a dead body in the middle of the room. They find keys. They have to figure out certain ways to find items in the room. And meanwhile, there's a character named Zepp, who is pretty much portrayed as the bad guy of the movie. And he has Dr. Gordon's family pretty much kidnapped. Not really kidnapped, but he has them tied up. He's going to kill them if Gordon fails his test. And I think that Zepp was a really cool bad guy because you really thought he was Jigsaw, which I'll get into that in a second. But it wasn't like how in Saw 4, and by the way, spoiler alert, I know I've already done spoiled some things, but these movies are kind of old, so I figured you guys would have seen them by now. But spoiler alert, from here on, this franchise review will be full of spoiler alerts. But like in Saw 4, where Hoffman's the revealed bad guy, it's like you kind of seen it coming from a mile away. Here, you really thought that Zepp was the bad guy, and it was handled very well. I mean, you have him, he's sort of this hospital orderly, and he knows Dr. Gordon, and he has his family, trapped, and he's going to kill them if Gordon fails. And it adds that layer of suspense to the story. And meanwhile, you have flashbacks. You have flashbacks to traps, previous traps, the barbed wire trap, the candle glass door trap, the reverse bear trap, where you have Shawnee Smith, which does a great job in these movies. She's basically recalling what happened to her, and she has this contraption on her head where it will tear her face open if she doesn't find the key. And the key is in the stomach of her dead cellmate, and she ends up getting the key, and it's very well done, very well shot. It's very suspenseful, where she got to get the mask off, and she finally gets it off, and you just get that sense that, man, she lived, she survived. It was a split-second decision, and she ended up making it. And I like that part where she says, "He helped me," because it really makes you realize that Jigsaw is not like other killers. And I loved about these movies that Jigsaw wants you to survive. He doesn't want you to die in his traps. He wants you to live and value your life. And I really enjoyed about these movies because it could have been just a typical serial killer who's like, yeah, I'm just going to put these people in traps. But no, it was a serial killer who puts people in traps to make them value their lives a little bit more better. And I really enjoyed that. I think that was a very good switch up to the whole serial killer stuff. It gave the movie its own killer. It wasn't like it was a replaceable killer who's been done a million times. This is like the first time where we've had a killer who does it to help people in a way, does it to make people value their lives. And I enjoy that. And what's great about this movie is that most of it is in one room, and they find ways to make it interesting. It could have been a boring movie in a bathroom, two guys in a bathroom just talking. But no, I like how they have flashbacks. The flashbacks are very well done. It's kind of like throughout the movie you're piecing together a puzzle. And I like that. I like how it reveals new things each flashback. And the movie just does this great thing where it builds the tension, and it builds it, and it builds it, and it builds it. You get to that third act where Dr. Gordon's family is heard on the phone screaming, and Tap ends up finding out that Zepp is the guy who's helping out Jigsaw. Or he thinks he's actually Jigsaw. But Tap goes over to Gordon's house and helps his family out, and Dr. Gordon thinks his family's getting killed, so he cuts his foot off. You have Adam, where he gets shot in the shoulder. You have Detective Tap, he ends up getting killed by Zepp. Zepp gets there, and Zepp is like, "You're too late. It's the rules." And it just does that great build-up, that build-up. You think Gordon's going to die, and Adam just freaking rises up and smacks Zepp and kills him with this freaking toilet lid. Or like the freaking, the part of the toilet that's like up here, you take it off, and you can fix the toilet that way. He takes that toilet, and the toilet lid or whatever, freaking beats the guy's head in, and you have that great ending where Gordon's like, "I gotta go," and he's like, "I'm gonna bring back help. I wouldn't lie to you." And he exits the room, and Jigsaw is the guy in the middle of the floor, the dead guy, which they don't really have a picture of Jigsaw in this case, but the dead guy in the middle of the room ends up being Jigsaw, and he gets up, and that classic line, "Game over," closes the door, end of the movie. I mean, it's a very straightforward plot with well done acting from Carrie Ills and Leigh Whannell and Danny Glover and Shawnee Smith and just everybody. Tobin Bell did a great job in this movie. It's just, all in all, a very good movie. I think it's very thrilling. I think it's very suspenseful. I think it's got awesome gore effects in it, awesome makeup effects. It's excellently shot. It has a fantastic score, which is amazing in the movie, and I love the theme song of the movie. It just has everything going for it. It's the perfect horror movie, to start with this franchise. I think it's got a lot of good stuff to it. If you haven't seen Saw 1, I probably spoiled it for you. I'm sorry, but it's one of those must-sees. If you haven't seen Saw, definitely go and watch it. It's a good movie. And I recommend picking up this 2-disc special edition because you'll get more features than you do in the actual regular DVD. Plus, you get more gore. But there could have been a little bit more features, honestly. I mean, I think you get is there commentary? There's two commentaries. There's the original short film, which I thought was pretty cool to watch. On set preview of Saw 2, hacking away at Saw, which is pretty much behind the scenes. And the rest of the stuff is like, storyboards, websites, and art galleries. Like, there's not really much else to the features. And they have a 3-part featurette, which is pretty cool, which is that hacking away at Saw or whatever. But it should have been a little bit more to it. For instance, they didn't really explain a lot about the makeup effects. They didn't really explain a lot about the score, or how they did the camera work. It was more about just getting the movie made and how the process was, which was pretty cool. But it would have been awesome to have like sort of mini featurettes to the side, like, oh yeah, here's a makeup effect featurette, here's a camera work featurette, here's a how they did this, how they did that. That would have been really cool to have that, but it's got more features than the regular DVD does, because regular DVD doesn't have any features at all, from what I remember. So if you're looking for a movie that has features, or at least the first Saw movie that has features, this definitely has features. So I recommend picking it up. It's a 2-disc set, pretty cool. And also the movie looks great in this version. I think they fixed the aspect ratio. I think they fixed that. It looks better. It looks clearer. It sounds clearer. So quality-wise and feature-wise, it's pretty good. Just could have had maybe a couple more featurettes to it. But anyways, guys, I mean, Saw 1, it's James Wan's first movie. He did a great job. It's classic. It's definitely the best one out of all the Saw movies, and it's very well done. If you haven't seen Saw 1, check it out. It's a good movie. But anyways, guys, that's been my review on Saw 1. Awesome movie. I can't give enough praise. It's got just amazing stuff to it, and it's a very well-made movie. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review on Saw 1, and I'll see you guys later for my review of Saw 2. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. The Explorer 4 out.